What's up, YouTube? My name is Immortal Coil, and today we're talking about subverted expectations and how The Last Jedi Johnsoned The Force Awakens. So, to preface this, I am a lifelong fan of Star Wars. Okay? I was born in the early 80s, and my father owned the original trilogy on Betamax. Now, what is Betamax, you might ask, in this day and age? Betamax was a predecessor to VHS. Betamax was like this, VHS was like this. Just like with computers, we had a floppy disk, which was like this, very floppy, and then we had the 3.2 megabyte, which was like this, which survives to this day as your save icon. Okay, you touch that picture to save. What is that? I don't know. You might figure out if you play Oregon Trail. So from those early impressionable years, I went on to read the novelizations and the comics and various little pieces of what is now Legends, but what was once the expanded universe. Now, to bring it on home to savage spirituality, the things that I really connected with Star Wars was the psychic elements. Okay, the third eye kind of stuff, where you could levitate stuff, and where you were telepathic, and where you received visions of multiple futures, or not, or you could bear influence over the weak-minded. Okay, but also you got that like neat sword that you could defend yourself with. So there was that kung fu element, which you know, later on, like the Matrix, kind of like fed that part of my brain. But basically, there was this psychic telekinetic knight aesthetic to it. Okay, which is embodied in such a tiny bit of dialogue delivered by Sir Alec Guinness in his hut to Luke Skywalker. And he said, "For 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic until the Dark Times." Okay? So immediately your mind is like filled with questions. What's going on? Because that's episode 4. You're like, well, what happened in the other ones? You know, especially in the 80s, you were like, okay, great. You just got injected into this like universe, and it's like, okay, giant spaceships, and here's some droids, and here's laser swords, and you know, okay, great. Space pirates. There's a giant walking carpet. Now, unfortunately, I was too young to witness the original Star Wars in the theater, okay? So for years and years, all you could get were the clunky 80s VHS or Betamax tapes of the greatest epic ever released, but it was not letterboxed. It was like in the tiny TV, like you see me. Yeah. All right. Who wants to see the trench battle that way? No. Then when I was about 14, that's when the special editions came out, and my dad was like, "Look, you're gonna sit down and watch this shit. You're gonna understand it, and yes, sir." And he didn't even have to tell me that. Like, I was excited. I was like, yeah, let's go see it. And 1995, right? A New Hope. bing, ba-da-bum, and all this thing comes up, and you're like reading this, and then all of a sudden, the biggest ship you've ever seen in your life. The Lord Vader. Okay. Lord Vader is always going to be my favorite Star Wars character. I love Luke Skywalker. I love Obi-Wan Kenobi. I love Mace Windu. I love Yoda. But I love Lord Vader. And that's going to be a topic for a different video. The psychology of Vader, the arc, the rise and the fall, and the redemption. Okay. So we each in turn watched the special editions with their CGI and enhancements for all they were worth. You know, Han Solo stepped over the tail of Jabba the Hutt. He still had that fuck you kind of attitude. Didn't shoot Greedo first. No, that's not. But here's the thing. Back in those days, back in my day, uphill both ways, back when we had 9 planets, we had like a year or two to like salivate for the next installment. Okay, we had that sense of anticipation. We had that sense of like, what's going to happen next? What are they going to do with it? And then the prequels come out. Okay, now I was 18 when episode 1 came out. I'm dating myself. Don't do the math. Stop it. Stop it. You won't do the math. I was working as a telemarketer, and this was before like the internet was like the internet. We had like AOL, we had MSN. You know, GIFs looked stupid and pixely. You couldn't do anything with them. And you can email, and you can save text. Okay. And so spoilers were few and far between, unless you wanted to go on to like message forums and endlessly speculate with the devolved version of 4chan, which didn't even exist back then. That was just like a message group from, you know, the age of fuck it. So I went to a comic book store and I bought the comic adaptation of The Phantom Menace, which bared every spoiler. So I saw Jar Jar, I saw Darth Maul, I saw Qui-Gon Jinn, I saw young Obi-Wan, I saw young Anakin, I saw Padme Amidala, and it was artistically rendered. So it was kind of like watching the storyboards from the point of view of the final product. And I was just like, hell yeah. You know, I had my Star Wars hard on, and I charged into the movie theaters just going like, ah, freedom! And pod race aside, I was thrillingly entertained. And I'm 18, so I'm just like, yeah, this is like hitting me like in the prime of my psychic discovery, and like, you know, everything that I thought a Jedi should be, I saw. I saw a commitment to the Order. I saw sacrifice to a higher ideal. I saw a youth losing his mentor. And I saw a youth taking down evil. and then I saw Darth Maul tumbling down the drain. At the time, I wish I would have seen more of Darth Maul. And this was 1998, so I didn't know. And then episode 2. Same kind of thing. I didn't think Darth Tyrannus was that much of a sophisticated bad guy, but in retrospect, I don't think he was supposed to be. I think that he was supposed to be a little bit lame because Darth Vader. You can't have somebody more awesome than Darth Vader. Okay? Now, I saw episode 3 when I was 25, and I want to say that Hayden Christensen and I are around the same age. So when I saw him like chop the head off and fall to his knees and like, you know, I know that there are some controversies around the portrayal of Anakin. I can give you that. I'll concede to that. But if you consider the overarching story and place it into the dialogue of Obi-Wan in episode 4, where he's trying to calculate how to break the news to Luke and how everything played out. Yeah, okay. There was some horseshit in all the movies, okay? I can even point to some horseshit in episode 4 if you want me to, okay? Obi-Wan chops somebody's arm off with the lightsaber. And you know what happens? It falls on the floor and there's blood? No. Lightsaber should cauterize that immediately. Okay? Just one example. And that's not to say that fails to make it cinematic gold. But what it says is that, okay, this is a vision in progress. Okay? Now, George Lucas finishes the original trilogy. He goes on and he does the prequels, finishes those, and he goes, you know, I'm feeling a sense of my own mortality, and I don't want to commit to another 10 years if I might not be around. So you know what? I'm going to sell this property to the highest bidder, which was Disney, for about $4 billion. And he goes, okay, along with this property comes this woman, who we all know as Cray Cray KK. The KKK. Okay? She goes on record saying, we're going to honor George Lucas's vision. We have story treatments, and we're going to make sure that everything is like going according to his standards. And George Lucas is at the same table trusting her. Okay? And that's not what we got. Now, at this point, episode 3 came out in 2005. And we had a good like 10 years before episode 7 came out. Episode 7, heralded by J.J. Abrams, of Star Trek fame, of Lost fame. Okay? What's he famous for? Okay. Well, let's look at the commonalities between both. Okay? J.J. Abrams is really, really good at introducing characters and drawing upon past properties and setting things up for the next person to take it over and do something with it. Think about it. Lost. Star Trek. The Force Awakens. Similar pattern. Okay? Now, you look at The Force Awakens, and it's an Episode 4 ripoff. Okay? There's fake tattooing. There's a nobody. Now, whereas Luke is a moisture farmer, Rey is a junk collector. And she goes and gets space muffins for all the shit she digs up from the fallen Star Destroyer, until the one day she meets the Beach Ball BB-8. Beach Ball 8. Yeah. Yeah. And then suddenly she jumps on the Millennium Falcon and she meets Han Solo and she gets Anakin's lightsaber and she fights Kylo Ren and then she finds Luke Skywalker. That's pretty fucking lucky for a weekend. Okay. So, we come to the point where she walks up with the lightsaber and says, "Teach me." And okay, great. And so we're left like, what's gonna happen? And this is what's funny, is like there was a certain percentage of the audience that was kind of like, that's kind of fucky. But there was another open-minded percentage that was like, okay, well, that was kind of fucky, but like, maybe we'll see. That's where I was. And then there was another percentage that was like, "Rah!" No, that wasn't me. And I don't think that was you either. And so J.J. Abrams took this on a silver platter to Rian Johnson and said, "Do as thou wilt is the whole of the law." And Rian Johnson was like, "Okay. My first draft." And Kathleen Kennedy was like, "Yeah!" And they made it a movie. He didn't even like ask anybody. He was just like, "Yeah, that's my vision. That's my vision. Yeah, let's go ahead and film that with all the resources of Lucasfilm." Okay, now here's what I'm gonna say. This was a very beautiful visual movie, and if you judge it on its own merits, it looked good, and it was a compelling story, and it was artfully executed, blah 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 blah. Everything everybody else has said. But you know what? In the context of this soap opera, which is basically what Star Wars is, Episode 8 and retroactively Episode 7 is horse shit. Horse shit. Rian Johnson stated in interviews that he hoped to subvert expectations, and even earlier than that, that his main goal as a producer of movies, a director of movies, a creator of movies, was that he wants to divide almost evenly the audience, because he thinks if half of you like it and half of you don't like it, then guess what? That's a good movie. Do that with your own movies, motherfucker. Don't do that with my movie. Don't do that with our movie. You understand me? Now here's the thing. Everybody bitches about this. Okay? You'll find 100, 1,000 channels bitching about this because it's upsetting. Okay? I didn't like it. You didn't like it, or else you wouldn't have clicked on this. So how do we fix it? What should J.J. Abrams do in episode 9 to fix this? Can he fix this? Well, the biggest thing I can say is no. Nobody can fix this. But if I were in JJ's position, here's how I would fix it. Okay? I don't know what to do about the opening crawl. I don't. But what I would do is go back to Octo and put Luke in his homeless robes and have him go like this. Ah! And he wakes up from a bad Force dream, like Anakin used to have. Except this time, Luke is stronger than Anakin was, and he sensed everything that could happen if he continued upon his path. So yeah, maybe he went to Octo to die. Maybe he was disheartened by Kylo Ren. Maybe his X-Fighter is at the bottom of the sea. But he had this bad Force vision. He wakes up and he walks outside with his robes on, and this girl walks up behind him, and he turns around and takes off his hood, and she goes like this, and he knows what to do. Okay? And then we can kind of retroactively change what came before. Now, that's how to fix it. Does that make that a good movie? I don't know. I don't know that I would pay to see that. Because that's also tacitly admitting that you fucked up in the other episode. We have until next year to get this shit sorted out. And I sincerely hope that Disney cleans out the creative group at Lucasfilm and starts listening to the fans. Okay? We're not a vocal minority. We're not people that can be swept aside. We're not misogynists. We're not racists. We're not whatever ism or ists you care to apply to us. You label me, I'll label you. We have to start to work together and come together. The Force unites us. It flows through us and it interpenetrates us. It binds the galaxy together. Quoth Obi-Wan, nevermore.